This is Scale Her Up, the podcast for female-led businesses ready to grow to 7 figures and beyond. I'm Dr. Brenda Hector, business coach and champion for women in business, on a mission to change the stats and help more women scale successfully. Each week, we share real stories, tools, and tactics to help you build a business that supports the life you want. Follow the show and come join our Scale Her Up Facebook community. You don't have to do this on your own. And today I'm so pleased I've got Julie Moulsdale of Perceptive Communicators, the managing director of Perceptive Communicators. Julie, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, Brenda, and thank you very much for starting this movement. Much needed.
Definitely. And I don't think I've started it. I've just jumped on a small bandwagon and it's getting bigger.
For you.
So let's start with Perceptive Communicators, Julie. What is it that Perceptive Communicators do?
So we are an award-winning communications consultancy, and we are all about working with clients who are improving lives and transforming futures. So that could be a variety of different things. So that could be, we work in just 4 sectors. So work in the built environment. So that could be a house builder or a social house provider or someone providing a run regeneration, much needed regeneration. We also work in the science space, science and innovation. So we've worked with organizations like Europe's largest vaccine manufacturer. And we've also worked with small, really exciting startup science businesses as well. And we work with big government innovation agencies too. So right across the spectrum. We work in leisure as well. And we work with hotels, leisure destinations, including Low Shore Surf Resort, which is just right outside Edinburgh, which has just been named the world's best inland surf resort. So that's really exciting. And in terms of, we also do some work in the technology space as well. So our very first client was Cisco, and we still continue to work with organizations in the tech space. So they're deliberately chosen, Brenda, because it's only 4 sectors that we work with quite deliberately, so that we love to get really under the skin of our clients, and we love to get really under the skin of the industries. I think it's also really important given what we do. So we are all about trying to help our clients achieve their goals with most certainty and most effectively. So that's a variety of different tools that we would use in terms of communication. So that could be, we need to do a bit of research to understand how you're positioned in the market. We help clients position themselves more attractively in the market. We help them sell their services more effectively, and we help influence stakeholders. So, for instance, we would help secure, so for instance, Low Shore that I mentioned, we help them secure planning permission, which if that hadn't been achieved, then the project would not have proceeded. So that's the sort of thing that we can help our clients with. And we're very active and successful on the digital and social side of things. And I'm sure, you know, the economy is not too easy at the moment. So we spotted that quite a while ago. So we have launched a service called Growth Now, which is all about trying to get clients to help their growth journey sooner rather than later. As well. So it's a right across a variety of different services. We're relentlessly focused on growth, helping our clients grow. And the reason we're so relentlessly focused on that, and we only do 4 sectors, is 20 years ago, I was a frustrated client. I had been really fortunate in my early stages of my career, the first 15 years of my career. I worked with big brands like IBM, PwC, and RBS Group, which were all fantastic brands and organizations. I learned loads from them in terms of, you know, professionalism, accountability, corporate approach. But I worked with lots of different agencies, and they were a lot of them were pretty good, but without exception, it was about style over substance. There were jacks of all trades. they sent in the experts to pitch for the work, and as soon as your back was turned, it was they were the more junior staff that were actually delivering it. So, and nothing against more junior staff, but that wasn't what you were promised at the beginning. So, I thought there was a gap in the market for expert specialist communications advice. So I never wanted to grow, a business of hundreds of people, but I wanted to grow a really good, excellent quality business. I had long-term relationships with clients as well, and that's really important to me as well. The power of relationships, and we achieved really industry-beating levels of client loyalty. And I think there's no secret sauce. It's just that we work with clients, we understand work really hard to understand what are their real goals and what's the best way to help them achieve it. We just keep doing that. And then they keep hiring us and recommending us to their friends. And, when clients move on, they will often take us with them as well.
Wow, awesome. I'm just I've written down a few things there that I want to dig into. The first one is the sectors that you're working in. So it's a bit varied. How did you decide that for? What was the decision process there?
So I think it really started off with, my background is my very first job was with IBM. So I was always really interested in technology and innovation and the impact that can make on people's lives. So that was really important. I was always really interested in property. So when I was at RBS, I was involved with a lot of their mortgage and personal finance products. And I'm just really interested in like the fabric of property. It's something you can touch and feel and see. So we were very fortunate in that our very first property client, in fact, he's now our non-exec, but he's got us involved lots of projects along the way, including Athletes Village for the Commonwealth Games, which we were appointed to in 2009. When it was basically a site that had to be cleared. So there were still some people living there, and basically those properties were then demolished, and then to make way for the amazing Athletes Village that's won, I think, 25 awards and actually is home to thousands of families and has completely been the linchpin in transforming that part of Glasgow. So this golden thread, I think, really, Brenda, running through it all is that legacy, is the power to improve lives and transform futures. And also the science side of things, I've just again, another sector I'm really interested in. And in terms of the team as well. So we probably think about 5 years ago, maybe 6 actually now, I think it's probably in COVID times, we did really took a step back to say, right, well, what is it we really want to focus on? So that's why we chose the 4 sectors, because they've got that golden thread of, in different ways, they improve lives and transform futures. And, you spend an awful lot of your time at work. And so it's important to have that really clear purpose. And that's the lens. So, if clients approach us, from other sectors, and even sometimes when they approach us from the sectors that we're in, we always apply that lens of, are they improving lives, transforming futures, in some way.
So you will turn down work if it doesn't fit those 4 areas or improving lives and transforming.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We will.
Awesome. How is that a difficult thing to say you're going to do? Is that a wee bit scary going, I'm going to turn down work?
So actually 20 years ago, when I spoke to industry contacts before I had launched Perceptive, I said, I feel like there's a gap for just expert communications in just a few areas. And the advice I got was, that's madness. You're starting a business. Don't narrow your focus. Keep it as open as possible. And then maybe once you're up and running, you can narrow. But I just had this real belief, because I had been that client myself, and I thought, I think there's a real gap in the market here that I think, I would have liked when I was a client. And I do think that's really the secret behind our industry beating levels of client loyalty. And we've also got a world-class net promoter score of 93, which we've maintained over the last few years. So it's all about us achieving that impact for clients. And I think, with the team, it's really important that they feel like they're making a difference at work. So they're not just, winning awards for the sake of it or getting media coverage for the sake of it or driving traffic to a website. It's actually, if it's for a higher purpose, like, providing someone with a home, it's just a whole other level of meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because you knew that was your thing and you stuck to your thing, even though outside voices were saying, you're mad. Yeah.
I get that quite a lot, and I tend to, not that I don't listen to other people, but um, sometimes you just have to go with what your gut is telling you and see whether that works or it doesn't work. And, in terms of the sectors that we went with, I still feel that they're right in terms of the impact that it can make on people's lives.
Yeah. And look, here you are, 20 years on. Yeah. How many staff do you have, Julie? How big's
We
your
had
team?
8. Yeah, so it's a medium but mighty team of 8. So we would hope to continue to grow. So we've managed to grow the business, not necessarily always the team, by an average of about 15 to 20% over the last 20 years. So we want to just continue to grow at that sort of level. And, that will mean we will probably bring more people in, but it's got to be the right people. And we'll be having obviously that lens of, we need to know another thing, which I think is really important, is that we defined, so lots of organizations have values. We used to have values, but we actually transformed that into a manifesto of how we do things around here. So we
Uh-huh.
have got an 8-player manifesto, which, yes, absolutely incorporates some of our values, but it's more of like, how do we behave, whether it's interacting with each other, interacting with clients, um, and, regardless of the situation, whether it's a new business meeting with a client or whether it's an ongoing meeting. So things like, we've always got a growth mindset. So we could be doing great work with a client, but we're always thinking, right, how can we improve that and how can we implement that? Which I think helps keep it fresh, both for the client and for ourselves.
Yeah, because I've seen many businesses who have brought on an agency to do something for them, and it's great in the beginning, and then their business has moved on, but the service that they're receiving is the same, and then so they let that agency go and they go to do something else. When
Yeah.
actually, if they'd have been on the journey together, then
Yeah.
both would have won, if you like. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the same in your industry, Brenda. Certainly, one of the biggest reasons why clients leave communications consultancies is the client feel that the companies become complacent. So we're always aware of that, and we're always thinking of new ideas or how can we improve things for clients. And I think I always say to them, like, I'd rather that we took 10 ideas to the client and said no to 9. At
Yeah.
least we're keeping it fresh and we're always thinking on behalf of the client. And that was really important for me when I was a client, that it was about feeling that your team, your communications consultants are on your team. They're championing you, they're supporting you. The fact that they're separate organizations, neither here nor there, you're all on the same team together. And it's, we're very passionate about championing our clients and our non-exec. When we worked with him as a client, one of the best compliments he gave us was, he said, I've constantly have to remind myself that Perceptive are not employees because they have that passion and emotional attachment, and we're always willing to go the extra mile, and also importantly willing to maybe tell you some things that maybe you don't necessarily want to hear, but you need to hear as well, and they have that honesty. So it's very much, we try to set up a partner relationship with clients.
So, and I guess that's why your NPS is 93 and you've got this great client loyalty and you're award winning. So I've just wanted those are things some businesses are reluctant to shout about themselves. Yeah. So, I've talked to businesses going, although I'm not going to go and apply for that award because customers think that that's just you you, they don't, a lot of businesses don't understand the value of going for awards and winning awards and sharing that. Can you just, because you're in it's communication, so I know you're the right person to help me with getting this message out, why you should be award winning and why you should tell people about it.
Well, I recognise what you're saying, Brenda, and even within me, there's a bit of um, hesitancy, believe it or not, in terms of you don't want to be seen, particularly as a woman, and I'll just say that, as being too big for your boots. But actually, I think it's really important for leaders, male or female, to be role models and, for the next generation coming through and for your team as well. So I think, we have conversations quite often with clients and in particular sectors, particularly I would say the built environment, they're very humble, sometimes to their detriment. And it's because they don't want to put their head above the parapet in case it gets chopped off. But actually, we've got quite a number of clients where we have said to them, look, visibility is not just vanity. It's absolutely not. It's about demonstrating your leadership. And quite often clients will come to us and say, oh, our competitors are saying this and they're, positioning themselves as thought leaders and, they're winning all this work because people are aware of them, more aware of them. We've been doing this for 10 years and we've never talked about it. And
I was thinking that, like, they're shouting about themselves like that, and we know they're not as good as us.
exactly.
They're
So you've heard that. Yeah, exactly. So, but the thing is, if people are not aware of you, how can they be interested enough to want to work with you? And particularly for the kind of things that we do, that professional service, you need to build that trust up over time because it's a very it's high stakes that are involved. So it's really important that you build up that trust, awareness and trust. And it's someone you would want to maybe just what you like and you would want to actually work with. But importantly, that's going to provide you with the right service to help you reach your goals.
So the awards then, the importance of going for awards.
Oh, I think there's probably two goals for us. Three actually. So one, I think we need to walk the talk. So there's lots of communications consultancies, and probably in our earlier days we were guilty of it ourselves. That we're really good at doing that for clients, but we weren't so good at doing it for ourselves. But we made a deliberate choice, probably about 10 years ago, about halfway into Perceptive journey. We thought actually we need to do this for ourselves as much as we do for clients. And actually, you know yourself, it's like writing your own LinkedIn profile. It's really hard to be your own client. I'm very lucky. I've got a great team who we all pitch in their, different ideas. And obviously very skilled communicators and used to doing this sort of stuff for clients. So we have got an excellent hit rate in terms of awards for clients, but also for ourselves. So I think it's you need to walk the talk. I think it's also the impact that has. So people want to be associated with winners. So there's that halo effect. And, even if you're shortlisted, it's really important to make the most of that. So we know if we're shortlisted or a client's shortlisted, when does that list come out? We're already prepared with a news release or a LinkedIn post to our social media post to make sure, and something to go on the website as well. Make the most of that. So because you've got a wee window between the shortlisting and the actual awards, and then so it's walking the talk. It's about the impact, on your profile externally. But also, I think, and this is maybe really the most important point, is about the positive impact that can have on your own team, particularly if they've been involved with creating that as well. So it's a bit of pride and I don't know, engagement, I guess, in the fact, and it's a win for the team as well. And we always try to make the most of, celebrating any sort of wins. So we won an award last year for our work with, we won the best consumer campaign, and that was at awards in Manchester. And yes, we could have just sent down one person, but we actually took the three of us went down for that. We didn't know we were going to win the awards, but to make the most of it. And this year is our 20th year, so we will be absolutely celebrating that with all of our clients and our team.
And I don't know about you, but I love just getting dressed up for that kind of for a dinner. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
great to have that sort of stuff going on, isn't it?
Yeah. And being in business is not easy. So when you've got the wins, you have to take the wins and make the most of them.
So yeah, it's not easy. I'm thinking about Julie then. What have you learned about yourself on your journey over these 20 years?
Loads. Where do I start? So I left. I'd always worked in big teams. And when I started Perceptive, it was just me. And I was working from home. And I also found out 1 month in, I was pregnant. Not great
Goodness.
timing. It was also around the time of the just heading into the credit crunch and the crash. So starting a business that was at the time mainly focused on the built environment, that probably wasn't the best planning of my life, but we absolutely stuck with it. I guess I've probably learned that, and I look back, I'd walked away from a huge job and a huge salary and great benefits to nothing really. I had to create. When you're employed, you're used to that money just arriving in your bank account every month. And all of a sudden, you're like, actually, there's nothing. We need to create that. So it's that resilience of, but actually, that's a very good motivator. And we just got on with it. And finding out I was pregnant, that was quite challenging. But my husband was really, really supportive. And when actually about a year or so into the business, once I'd had my first child, he took a career break because we were then approached by the client, our very first property client, who's now our non-exec director. And we had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to cover someone's maternity, their corporate comms director's maternity cover, which was great, except I had several other clients as well. I'm still breastfeeding. So it was a real juggle. So my husband took a career break for 18 months, which was fantastic. Which wasn't so fantastic was at the end of the 18 months, I had another baby and he had to go back to work. But by that time, the person who'd been my deputy at RBS, she had left RBS as well, had set up a business and then sold it and said, she would love to work with me. So 18 years later, Leslie's still working with me. And I think that those relationships, have been absolutely fundamental to the business. And we're very similar, but we've got quite complementary skill sets as well. And we've now this year worked together for 25 years in total. So it's just great to have someone who, I can really trust and is so good at everything, basically.
So if I was going to ask you, how did you manage the juggle with 2 kids and running a business? It's about the people round about you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is quite so for anyone thinking about setting up a business, I would always say go for it, but be aware of how hard it is and how much resilience you need and how lonely it can be. So they need people like you, Brenda, supporting them and cheering them on and challenging them in the right way, in the right supportive way. But it has been really hard. I mean, we've come through the credit crunch, COVID, when that was really hard as well. And then also I think the economic environment at the moment is pretty challenging as well. And then there's other things in your personal life that happen. My parents were ill in the early stages of Perceptive, and my mum sadly died. So and she was, I was really close to her. So that sort of stuff really impacts, when you maybe need your mum the most and they're not there. That's quite tough. But I've also got a really great set of friends, and I've made lots of friends who actually, have been clients over the years as well. So, they're a great support. So I think what I've learned is I'm probably more resilient. I learned that along the way, and that, the importance of having that support network around you is really important as well.
Yeah. So who's been your biggest supporter?
Probably the people that I've mentioned. So Ed, who was our very first property client, and he really believed in us, and he not only were we supporting his company, but he put us in front of the consortium that built the Athletes Village for the Commonwealth Games. And also we worked on another long-term regeneration project as a result of his help. So that and over time we've built up, obviously a long sort of trusted relationship. So he's been so supportive.
It's a two-way thing, isn't it? So it's not like, oh, he needs your services and he pays you and you deliver him a service. He's actually supporting your business as well as you supporting him. And yeah, I think, how many years is that relationship?
That's probably 18 years we've
Yeah.
been working together. But I suppose the two people have been probably the most supportive are the two that I've mentioned already. John, my husband, and he retired as a policeman a few years ago. And at the time, our admin and finance manager, it was just coming out of COVID, and you're thinking, oh, that's great. Everything's going to settle down. And as soon as we're back into work, I was thinking, well, that's great to be able to see people as well, because I feel like, actually when you see people, there's a different dynamic and you get different feedback when you're face to face with people. And as soon as we're into the office, my then finance and admin manager said to me, "Oh, can I make you a coffee, Julie?" And I thought, "Oh no, here we go. She's going to hand me a note." So of course I came out. Sure enough, she did. She'd been with the business for about 5 years, done a great job. We absolutely wished her well, but it's just when it's like a game of Jenga, just when you think everything's settling down. So I then called my husband and said, "You never guess what." And he said, "Well, actually, I've been thinking of retiring. I can come and work with you." So I just burst out laughing because I thought he was making a joke. Anyway, long story short, 5 years later, he's here and he's our finance and admin manager. So I'm not sure that would be to be recommended. I don't know whether you could work with your partner.
Do you know, I have, but not in our own. Well, I suppose, yeah, we've run a wedding card business for 12 years as a side.
wow.
We have run a business together, but we worked together as well. And I think you see a different side of them that you wouldn't see, when you see them as
Yes.
professional.
Yes.
You wouldn't see
Yes.
that normally. It's maybe just the annoying man that wanders around in his pants. And yeah, it's a different. I wasn't looking over there at him doing that. It was just
Yeah.
it's just an example.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
in a lot of ways a lot of ways we're similar, but in a lot of ways, we've done the insights thing and the colours. So, I'm very fiery red and he's much more sort of green yellow, so good sort of balance in lots of ways. And actually, interestingly, Leslie, who's my deputy, so I'm red yellow and she's yellow red as well. So I think we complement each other as well. And she's
So you definitely need him as the blue green to balance you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, our team overall are really balanced as well. And, my team are absolutely fantastic and really focused on our purpose and deliver great results for clients. And a few years ago, I made a decision to not work so much in the business, but to work on the business, which isn't easy when you really like all the technical stuff as well. And, you love working with clients directly and you can see the impact, but I made, years ago, I heard this saying, the conductor doesn't make a sound, which I think is a brilliant way of describing it. So, don't get me wrong, sometimes I still do get involved with certain clients in certain situations. So, but I try to, where possible, let the team do the great job that it always does.
I've written that down about the conductor. That's brilliant. But that journey to not actually being hands-on with the clients. I mean, a lot of people early in their business, they can't even imagine not doing that. But I think it's probably quite important. It gets you past a certain. I think there's a bit of a plateau unless you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it took me doing some work with a business coach to actually recognize and and stop doing that and actually recognize that's my comfort zone. So that's the easy bit. So I can carry on doing that, but by doing that, I'm stifling the team
Yeah.
and not letting them grow as well. And also, in terms of having your own business, you need time to think and reflect, and it maybe doesn't look like you're doing much work. But it's important to be able to think things through. And to have that leadership, you need to be able to have it, really clear in your head about what's the direction of the business and what challenges might there be, and how do you bring the team along with you on that journey. And that all takes quite a lot of reflective time. And I'm a doer, so that's not my natural happy hunting ground. So I need to consciously force myself to before this, I deliberately took myself into this meeting room and I've got a board and, mapping things out and things, but that's not normally how I would do it. I think it's just trying to, your natural state or natural way of doing things isn't always the right thing to do. And, with me being a fire red, I just want to get things done.
So that self-awareness actually is really powerful, isn't it? To realize where something that is a strength could actually be a weakness as well, and to do something about it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned you work with a business coach, so I'm going to pounce on that. Tell me about your experience of working with a business coach, and why did you bring someone in to do that with you?
I think it's really important to have someone who has got that objective view. And actually, over the years, I've worked with different people. I've had relationships with different people, and actually maintained my relationship with all of them, which has been really lovely. So when I first was setting up Perceptive, I worked with an amazing lady called Julie Walters. And it was all about how she helped me create my vision of, because Perceptive didn't exist. I didn't have the life. And this was, bear in mind, this was 20 years ago. So she was really instrumental in helping me get a really clear vision of what my life would look like. So leadership, in my experience 20 years ago, was like, how do you lead yourself at work and how do you lead your team at work? Actually, what she talked about was leading your whole life. It was a much broader, more holistic approach, which for me has been really, really helpful. And I still think about a lot of the things. And, she talks about, going out and into nature and going for a walk and getting your head clear and things and all that sort of thing. So, and, having a business is very stressful, and it's about how do you nurture yourself. And, I know there's a lot of talk about that now, but she was talking about this, 20 years ago. So all of that learning, I've absolutely held on to. And then over the last few years, probably the last 5 years, we've been working with a business coach who he's built similar businesses. And he's just so actually he was supposed to be delivering training, and got chatting. And I just was really curious about him and his background. And we just really, you just really hit it off with someone. And so he's basically been coaching me and the business. And we work with a couple of other people, an amazing lady called Donna Murphy, who has helped me and the team think in a much more commercial way, as well, which has been really, so, sales shouldn't necessarily be a dirty word, or profit's not necessarily a dirty word, because actually that's the kind of oil that for the whole machine. But actually, how do you do it in a way that's win-win for everyone? And the work with the previous business coach I mentioned, he's all about, there's lots of organizations that do what we do. But it's about, let's get this media coverage to win an award, or, let's just get as much media coverage as we can, rather than the right message, the right people at the right time, the right way, which is going to help you get to your goal. So, right from the start, I've been really focused on the commercial impact of what we do, and he's really helped crystallize that. So and that's also helped us really get under the skin of the impact of what we do with clients, as well. And then the other person, who's a woman, she's actually based in New Zealand. And again, she's had a very similar journey of building up a business, starting it from nothing, builds up a business really, really well. And, very generously shared her results. And what she talked about was, you have to stop doing, you have to. That's just always constantly, playing in my head. So I think it's like different things, different people that help different things. And at different times as well, it's that you need
Something different, or you need somebody different. I totally agree. Yeah.
Like situational coaching, you've got situational leadership, it's like situational coaching. I think people that come into your life at different times, for different reasons.
I totally agree. I've had a number of different coaches through my business journey as well. Yeah, somebody to help with sales and somebody to help with speaking, and yeah, lots of that. So totally agree. So what would be your advice then, Julie, to another woman looking to start or build their business?
So I would think about what is it you're going to do that is um, different to what's out there already. And I would get really under the skin of the market. What's out there? What do you think you can do better? Why would somebody choose to move from a supplier they're maybe quite happy with and have been with for a long time? What is it that's so different about you? And what is the problem, that you're solving really? So, for us, we're driving that impact because clients want to have more sales. They want to have a better reputation that will allow their organization to continue to exist, or a better reputation so that they can secure more investment, or, secure planning permission, or about attracting and retaining the right people. That's really important as well. So it's about the whole sort of positioning of an organization. I think people are much more aware of, and people are aware of, brands and the importance of reputation. So, I think if we, were going to be starting another business, or I was advising someone, I would be saying, like, you really need to understand what's so different about you, and what's your, we would call it in the marketing world, unique selling proposition. So what is better about you, and why would people want to buy you, and what problems are you solving?
Yeah, it was the uniqueness when I was thinking, oh, what makes you unique? And I
Yeah,
don't use USP. I don't think about it as a unique selling point. It's a unique buying point. It's why are they buying? It's not what you're selling. It's what they want to buy. It's from the customer perspective. I think that one
exactly.
right. Yeah.
And I think that's really important that once you're up and running, you ask it doesn't have to be, we do, quite scientific research with our clients. But in the early days, and also there's that whole thing of they might not tell you something, but they will tell a third party.
Mhm.
But if you've got good relationships with clients, maybe ask them, what is it about us that's maybe different to another organization? What made you buy us? What made you stick with them? Which is quite a brave question to ask, because you don't want to always put that down your mind, but it's about that, having that conviction that if you feel like you're doing a good job, it's a very useful question to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And if the response you get is not something when you do ask for feedback, if the response you get is not something you wanted to hear, that's the best kind of feedback because then you can act on it.
Exactly, exactly. And, we have an amazing, world-class net promoter score, but that research, every time we do it, there's always one or two things that come up that think, maybe we have not explained something effectively to a client, or they've overlooked something, or there's always things that we can do better.
For anyone who's not familiar with Net Promoter Score, then, and we do Net Promoter Score. I'm not involved in that. It comes from Action Coaching, but I hope I get this right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's about whether your customers would recommend you to someone else and how high they score you on that.
Yes. Yes. So, they would be out of 10 or out of 100. So, if at 93 means that, they would give a score of on average, 9.3 out of 10, or 93 out of 100, would recommend you. So on a scale of 0 to 100, how likely are you to recommend Perceptive for the service that we do to a friend or someone you know? Um, and that score is absolutely world class. So even big brands like John Lewis, Apple, those sorts of brands, they don't have anywhere near like that sort of score.
Yeah, I mean, 93 is just phenomenal. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well done.
Thank you. Well done to my team.
Yeah. So, if you could go back, Julie, to meet your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
So I think I would be just saying, absolutely, just go for it. I think um, young people, and I think particularly women, can have a bit of self-doubt. So you'll be very aware of all the research, which shows that, men will apply for a job with 60% of the criteria, whereas women have to have 100% before they put themselves forward for it. So it's having that conviction. I'm very lucky. So I'm one of 4 children. My parents were very much, if you work hard, the more you practice, the luckier you get. Like our Gary Player saying, my dad used to tell me. And if you work hard and, you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. And, we're 2 girls and 2 boys. And, I don't know what they did, but I do have quite a lot of self-belief, which hopefully is still quite realistic. And I think if we get a challenge, I always think, right, work out. It's that we will work at it, and we might have to corral lots of support, or go and speak to people, or whatever. But most of the time, we are absolutely able to help. And I think it's just say yes, and you work it out.
I like that. Yeah. Say yes and then work it out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just interested to know, are you the eldest or the youngest, or where do you come in that for?
I'm the youngest.
Yeah. The youngest often have a lot of self-belief, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we'll not go down that. Is there anything, Julie, that I should have asked you that I haven't? Anything you want to add to the conversation?
Well, so just coming back to, the industries we work in are mainly, we're very male dominated, particularly like the built environment, and even all the
Absolutely, yeah.
industries that we work with are very male dominated, particularly at a senior level. There's oodles of research that I could point you to that I'm sure you're aware of, Brenda, but maybe not everyone is aware of, that having more gender balanced senior teams there's, so many benefits that just boost performance, it boosts economic performance, it prevents, unnecessary risks being taken. So I am on a mission. I'm firmly of the belief that women are as capable as men. Different, maybe sometimes different skill sets, different approaches. I believe they're very much complementary, and actually bringing those 2 together are really, really important, and not overlooking the impact that women can make and the skill sets that they can make. So I have co-founded a group called Female Leaders in Construction for the built environment, and also Senior Women in Science. And both of those groups are about moving the needle of more women in senior positions, because I'm firmly of the belief that that will make those industries much more successful, and in turn our whole economy and society more successful. So, it's a small thing that really we're doing, but I really firmly, passionately believe about in this, and it's all about inspiring these women with inspiring. So this week we've got an inspiring speaker, a previous client that we work with, who's going to tell her career journey and hopefully inspire, the women that are at that event. We're helping with development and training, and this is all done at the moment for free. So, but it's about this absolute clear goal of we need to move that needle. And, with current things going on in society, the temptation is to just, it's actually this misunderstanding about actually we're avoiding risk, or we're actually creating more risk by just not allowing those women to have those opportunities.
So is it events that you're running? Is it a community that you're building? Is it networking? How?
All of the above. So it's a network to support each other. So it's bringing women together. So I love bringing people together where I can spot areas in common that they could help each other with. So sometimes that this is about bringing our clients together, and they might meet at some of our events. But actually, if we can see, wait a minute, actually, this is someone who's got an interest in this, someone's got an interest in the same thing. They're maybe working in similar areas, that they can maybe help each other. So we do those intros. We don't make any charge for anything like that. That's just like a bit of a value add of us using our powerful networks to bring people together. So there's that, but there's also, in terms of actually bringing people together in a social setting, as well. So it's the social side of things, and having that network to support each other. So It's not reliant on me saying, oh, Brenda, I must introduce you to so-and-so. You'll have come along and have met these people already. And then it's like up to you and how you do that. And then it's about inspiring them. So we've done everything from goal setting, training with these groups to thinking about, we did one earlier on this year and it was about the science of success. And it was all about having a clear vision and how do you execute that. And we've also done things around profile as well for women and how they can take a much more mindful and strategic approach to their own profiles, which is much more likely to be successful in terms of them achieving their goals.
That's fantastic. Well done. I think that's brilliant. Great to be doing that. And I'm sure you're getting lots of engagement and it's building.
Yeah, it is. So we've got over 100 women in the Female Leaders in Construction network, which I set up with another woman from the sector called Leanna Canavan, who's got another marketing company. And the Senior Women in Science, I set up myself, but on both organisations, we've got fantastic advisory boards who are, people in the industry as well, who just bring a really a different perspective and, complementary skill set. So, yeah.
And is there a geography to that? Is it near you or is it spreading?
Well, yeah, so the moment it's probably mainly in Scotland, but the ambition is that we would absolutely go UK wide.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. I think that's really good. I wonder if there's some people in my network that might be able to help you with that, but we can talk about that when we're finished. Julie, you asked me how long we would be talking for, and I could talk to you all day, but we probably should be wrapping up here. I just thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure to learn about you and Perceptive. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much for the opportunity, Brenda. I really appreciate it.
So, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale past £1 million in turnover than women. And when we match them, we'll add £250 billion to the UK economy and create millions of jobs. That's why Scale Her Up exists, to change those numbers one business at a time. Thanks for listening today. If this episode helped you, please follow the show, leave a review, and share it with another female business owner who needs to hear it. Join our Scale Her Up Facebook community and connect with me, Brenda Hector, on social media. I love hearing which episodes resonate with you. You're capable of more than you think. Keep going. We're scaling up together.